Video is for those in the United States with their parents about to age out, reach the age of 21, and can no longer be a part of their parents' visa process. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. I help families stay together in the United States. And if you're undergoing this particular circumstance, you're in a very stressful position because you've been living in the United States for some time with your parents as a derivative or dependent of their visa category. But because of the way US immigration laws are, your age is about to be over the limit, and you have to find an independent way to stay in the United States and have legal status. And so today we're going to go over different options that may be possible and consequences of other issues that could pop up depending on the paths that you take. It may not be a complete road, and there may be other options available to you. The best way to review it is to have a private consultation. But having said that, let's get it going. So again, the situation here is for people who are on their parents' cases and are going to age out. The parents may have an H-1B visa, an E-2 visa, or something like that, and they could leave, or they're waiting for their green card priority date to be current on the time they can start the process, and it's not happening fast enough. So the first thing that may come to your mind is, well, maybe if I overstay, what is the problem with that? There are two major issues that pop up with an overstay. Well, three, the obvious one being you could be removed or deported. But other than that, if you later plan to apply for adjustment of status, a green card in the United States, unless you fall with an exception, like marrying a US citizen, filing for asylum, or you soon after being out of status are able to get an employment-based visa, you won't have the ability to do adjustment of status in the United States. Secondly, if you then have to leave the United States to get a visa or a green card, you may become subject to a 3 or 10-year ban on reentry, which requires then a waiver to be able to return, and waivers may not be possible depending on your circumstances. So you really don't want to overstay the visa category that you're in, because that could be issues. But let's move on and talk about solutions. So one note is, if you already have a Form I-485 application for adjustment pending, and the status that you had expires, you age out, you're still able to remain in the United States pending the completion of the application process. But please do note two important things there. You must not violate your status. Now, if you're on a student visa and you graduate, you can remain in the United States while it's pending. But a second issue that pops up is regarding to your age, is if the CISPA, Child Status Protection Act, qualifications apply to you or not. USCIS in 2023, just recently, as a recording of this, has updated the way they calculate this Child Status Protection Act to make it much more amenable and adjustable to accommodate you if you are doing adjustment of status. So it's very important to analyze your case and see whether you fall within that. The Child Status Protection Act, meaning you could keep your age artificially below the age of 21, but a deep analysis of the case has to happen to ensure that this is the proper method to go. Now let's jump over to options. So, the easiest thing may be to file a change of status to a B2 tourist visa. This is a 6-month visa period, which extensions are possible. It's not an ultimate solution, but it could be a way of keeping you here, especially if nothing else is working. The next thing people will typically do is change to a student visa status. You may be already going to school as a dependent of your parents' visa, but you can do change of status to an F1 to remain in the United States so that you can continue to go to school, later on graduate school, and that'll buy you enough time along with OPT and all that kind of stuff to be able to eventually get status in some form or fashion. We'll talk about the green cards in a sec. Another is the H-1B process, which your parents may be going through themselves, but for that you need the degree, the employer, and to win the lottery, so it's a little difficult. Another difficult one is the O-1 visa for extraordinary ability. If you become very good at what you do, there's a potential that you get an O-1 if you have some work lined up in the field that you're in. And the next one is the E-2 investor visa. This is an interesting one. If you have the passport of a country that has a treaty with the United States for this program, you can start a small business right out of college even, or even sooner, to operate that business that you've invested in. You can stay here and run it. So it's a good option to have for a lot of people who could afford it, obviously. Now, for this, typically people will say you need a lot of money. We've had a lot of cases less than $100,000 invested, but it's important that it's a case-by-case analysis depending on the type of business that you have. But these are all going to be temporary eventually. The green cards are the way to go. The typical way we see people get a green card is through marriage, particularly through a U.S. citizen spouse. That'll fix up a lot of stuff. Now you have other options like the National Interest Waiver, EB-2C, or even the EB-1A Extraordinary Ability Green Card. These are for people who have extended outstanding experience or have a special place in their field that allows them to get a green card. And along with that, another difficult one that's a troublesome visa is the EB-5 investor visa or green card, which requires a lot of money, but it's complex and it may not be the way to go for most people. Now, the EB-2 and EB-3 work green cards are there as well. Those unfortunately take time, especially if you're born in India, so it may not be a solution in the short to medium term. And finally, asylum might be an option if it's appropriate for you, and an issue pops up where if you return to your home country, you might face persecution that's troublesome. So this is a quick overview of what we're thinking about typically when we have a consultation about this. There's always exceptions and different ways to get around, so it might be different for your case. It might be things I didn't mention that are important. That's why the best thing to do is to schedule a consultation with our office. You can email us at info@jqklaw.com and briefly describe your situation so we know what's going on, and then we can take it from there. I wish you and your family best, and hopefully we keep you here all together.